Hi there, welcome to I Alone Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Aquarius energy. And for this round of 12 zodiac sign readings, we are going to do this 10 card spread. And we're going to get out an oracle card to see what it wants to add to the story. And at the end, we're going to ask what could be a potential outcome that people might not see coming, depending on if they harness a more high vibrational Aquarius energy or a more worldly, shadowy Aquarius energy. We've all got our dualistic nature of free will, and life's about kind of tempering our more shadow nature, which is our more immature, prideful, egotistical, self-centered, bossy, controlling, want everything our way, blame everyone else for all of our problems, petty, envious, jealous, the list goes on, right? But some people have learned some more lessons to temper that aspect within themselves, and they've healed and grown and matured themselves, and they don't want to and make the free will choice not to indulge their more shadowy nature to the same degree that they could have in the past, you know? We've all got our shadow nature with us, but some people offer love to their shadow nature, their more immature worldly nature, and they're like a good parent to themselves. They offer themselves love and compassion and forgiveness to heal themselves and to let go of their more immature nature so it isn't in the driver's seat of their life. And also, when we've learned certain lessons in life and we're not kind of being in our more immature, whatever way of being, and we kind of don't want to hang out with other people who are, if you were, say, the same example when you're a high school student, you might not want to act and behave and have the same rhetoric that you did when you were in junior high. Well, the same thing goes on throughout our life. And so we learn lessons in life. Some people have tempered their more worldly ego nature and learned some more lessons than some other people. Some of the people that you might think are kind of more immature or whatever, those people have people in their life that they think are more immature than them, So it's all kind of relative. Listen to your intuition. We all tap into Aquarius energy because it has to do with our dreams and how we view life and what drives and motivates us. So listen to your intuition about what drives and motivates you, what drives and motivates other people. At the end of the story here, we have the Four of Cups not showing itself. Some people still haven't learned to take that cup of higher love, to love and believe in themselves. And they're in maybe more codependent energy or looking outside of themselves for something to be the answer to make them feel loved. But the high vibe energy is being enlightened to the truth that we have to learn to love ourselves. We can look to all these things outside of ourselves: drugs, booze, relationships, ego, money, status, power, social influence. None of those things can take the place of love. We're still going to feel unloved. And we can't control other people. And I think as long as we're in that energy, it's going to be kind of mirrored back to us, and we're going to be in relationships with either people who are in that same energy or who are unloving. And until we learn to love ourselves, that can change our whole life. Let's get out an oracle card here. Reevaluation. It is time to reevaluate your present circumstances and begin to make changes where changes are needed. Again, the only person we can change is ourselves. We could wish other people would change, but they have to make that free will choice. And some people aren't willing to do love. I've been hurt before. I don't trust love. I get hurt doing love. I don't believe in love. And they're not going to do it. And we just have to see the truth of it. I view this card as the overarching reason for the reading, and it's not showing itself. And it's the Two of Swords, which is Libra energy. Some people haven't picked a path. We have free will. We have a dualistic nature. I can either listen to my intuition and have hope and faith and belief in myself and in my dreams and in love, or I can stay in denial of that truth and not align with it, and I can make my life more about me or the world, ego, image, indulgence. And then there's people who can't make a decision, and they can't pick a path. and they could want the best of both worlds. How about I present myself as high vibe, like I'm just and fair and loving, but I'm really not that, but I want to look like that. Can we just stay in denial of the truth is what the Two of Swords can be about? Can we stay in denial of the truth that I'm not quite that? And won't you let me be in a relationship with you anyway? Can't you stay in denial of the truth? You know, when other people want to stay in denial of the truth, like that they're bossy or immature or whatever, they want other people to stay in denial of the truth. And some people, it's like, I want to hang out with the loving people and do that. And then I kind of get my ego and I want to be indulged, or I want to make my life more about the world. And then I want to go do that. And then that can feel superficial and shallow. And I don't feel like I'm around warm, loving, encouraging people. So then I want to go back to those people. And then I think I don't have enough money, or I'm not being indulged enough. And I want to go back to the other people. And some people want, again, they want both. And they think it's just and fair, and they think, because the Two of Swords is Libra energy, represented by the scales of justice, doesn't mean you're dealing with a Libra. We all have Libra energy. What is our truth? Do we listen to our intuition? Do we stay in denial of the truth that is supposed to be about love, treating other people the way we like to be treated? Or do we not want to, we just want to stay in denial and keep living in denial? So we start out with the Seven of Cups, the Five of Pentacles, the Nine of Pentacles. Then we have the Queen of Swords in reverse, two more cards not showing themselves, the Four of Pentacles, no, the Four of Wands and the Two of Wands. Then we have the Five of Wands, the Page of Swords, and the Five of Swords. We've all went through phases of life. I think learning to love yourself is one of the hard things to do in life. It can take the first 30, 40 years of our life to learn to love ourselves, because we don't realize that that is the answer to us feeling balanced within ourselves, And we have these illusions about the world, and we can feel, the Five of Pentacles can talk about that we're kind of more aligned with our worldly nature, and we really haven't aligned with our more creative and inspired inner child nature of hope and faith and belief. Because in the Five of Swords, like the Queen of Swords, I view them both as Aquarius energy. It's kind of not the way we're brought up in the world in a way. We kind of get indoctrinated in the world. And the Five of Pentacles is Taurus energy, which is about, either having learned these lessons and being a very wise person, and you're like a spiritual leader in the world. Well, none of us popped out of the womb being that type of person, right? And we get brought up in the world. So Taurus energy and Virgo energy. We might have our own unique talent, skills, and interests. We might have certain traits, qualities, and characteristics, and we can be loving. But we still really haven't learned to love ourselves. And so we go out in the world and we want to feel more abundant and stable and grounded and loved, but we just really haven't learned how to love ourselves. So we kind of have this lack mentality. And as we are growing up, we're single, and of course the world tells us, oh, if you go get in a relationship, and if you invest in this, and you do this, and you indulge in these things, you'll be happy. And so we're kind of caught up in the illusion of the world, because Taurus energy can also represent just all those institutions of the world, all these different philosophies of life that people have. Our family that we grew up in had a certain philosophy and a way of viewing life and living life and what they thought was just and fair. And then we have our friend group and our community and our state and our country and the world at any given moment that has their philosophy of life and how people should live life. And we're kind of trying to figure out what our truth is, and we're not sure about what our truth is. The world is telling us one thing. our more hopeful, believing nature might be telling us another thing, but we all kind of want to fit in the world, and we want everyone in the Nine of Pentacles to view us as a very abundant, stable person that people should want to be friends with and be in relationship with and hire for jobs, right? But we got a lot of lessons to learn. And we're still maybe not really sure what ultimately drives and motivates us. Like, we could also think, yes, I want to do love, but we also could do things that some people in our life find emotionally confusing, because we might do things that don't seem to be, in the Queen of Swords reverse, really looking at life from a higher perspective, and we might be kind of in denial. These two cards here in the middle are Aries energy. We all tap into Aries energy, and Aries energy is about the self. And for the first 30, 40 years of our life, we're pretty consumed with ourself. And we also, the Four of Wands can be that we kind of want to be in a relationship. We might want to be single to figure out who we want to be in a relationship with. We could have a dream. We kind of could have an idea of how we want to live our life. Like, these are some of the things of the world that I want. These are some of the ways I view relationships and the kind of relationship I want to be in. But, we're still kind of figuring out ourself and have some lessons to learn about listening to our intuition. And a lot of times, when we're younger, our own self-interest could kind of be what drives and motivates our life. And we have a lot of lessons to learn, and one of them is to learn to listen to our intuition. But, Aries energy can also be like, I think I'm the boss. I think I can manage this, or I can control this, or I'm sure things will go the way I want. And, our intuition was given to us as a gift to help us navigate this world, because people can wear false masks. People can present themselves as being more just and fair and balanced and loving, but they're really not. Some people can wear a very good false mask. Some people can be much more egotistical and self-centered than we realize. And so that's where our intuition comes in. But a lot of times, Aries energy is fire sign energy, and we're attracted to what we're attracted to. We're caught up in the illusion of the world. We're single. We're sure these things that we have been told will make us happy. We want to go do them. And even if our intuition is saying, wait a minute, I have inner conflict about that. I'm not sure if this is aligned with our truth. The Page of Swords can represent Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini. Gemini is about our dualistic nature and what our truth is. Libra is what we think is just and fair. Aquarius is about our dreams. And the Pages, in a more shadowy way, can be that we're just still immature. And we could have a lot of inner conflict about kind of more standing up for ourselves, because we could have maybe this fear of being left out in the cold if we stood up for what we believed in, and those are all lessons that we have to learn in life. And so sometimes we could get ourselves involved in some things for all these different reasons, and we had inner conflict about listening to our intuition and our truth and believing in ourselves and believing in our dreams. And we have mental conflict because we maybe haven't learned to love ourselves, and we want other people to love us, and we want the world to view us a certain way, and people in our family and our friendship group and our world, whatever. And so we could kind of have inner conflict about listening to our intuition and offering ourselves that cup of love to be more willing. High vibe Aries is where we learn these lessons in life, and we are standing up more for what we believe in, being a good leader in our life and listening to our intuition. Some people still reject that because they're still kind of hiding that they're still more about themselves and they haven't picked a path yet, or they feel stuck. And they still could be emotionally confused and feeling left out in the cold and have a lot of inner conflict about loving themselves, because we can all look to think, well, no, I'm not supposed to have to love myself. I need to go find people to love me. That's the answer. Or I'm going to go indulge in these things, and I'm sure if I eat this and drink that and do this and do that and have a certain status or image or power, that'll make me happy. Then I'll feel loved. Then I won't feel in lack mentality. Then I'll feel abundant. And some people are just more motivated by money and materialism. And some people are kind of immature, and some people don't want to do love. Some people, the Five of Wands and shadowy Leo energy can be that people are very competitive in the world. And the Five of Swords can be people who want to win at all costs, and they really don't care who gets hurt. It's all secretly all about them. But they don't want other people to know that, and they might want to stay in denial of the truth that is the truth about them. You know, just like people can be kind of bossy or egotistical or immature, they can deny that all day long. No, that's not true. No, well, some people have illusions about relationships. They do not look at life from a higher perspective. They are very competitive in the world. Their philosophy of life is to be more about themselves and indulge their more immature nature. They love themselves and make their life all about them, and they want to get in relationships with other people who make their life all about them. And they could be kind of full of themselves, some people that you might know in your life. I have these certain things of the world. I'm charming, I'm attractive, I've got money, I've got social clout, I look stable and abundant for some reason, and it could just be all in their head. They could be kind of live in fantasy land. But if they think that, they're going to move forward in the world, and they could think people should be fighting to be in a relationship with them. And some people are kind of under this illusion, I don't have to make a decision. There's other people in the world. And again, sometimes some people, because they have certain traits, qualities, characteristics, look a certain way, whatever they got going on, they could think, I'm not going to look at life any differently. I'm not going to offer someone a cup of love. I think, these people are going to want to be in a relationship with me. Some people are under the illusion that other people have inner conflict. We can kind of be under the illusion that other people have inner conflict and that they really want to be in a relationship with us. And we could be not seeing the truth clearly, and that's why I kind of do my tarot readings the way it is, that we all just have to deal with the truth. Not live in fantasy land, not live in illusion. Sometimes some people who distance themselves from us, if you're someone, the Seven of Cups, the Scorpio energy, if you're someone who does want to be in deep, meaningful relationships, you have learned to love yourself, and then from the Four of Cups to the Seven of Cups, you want to work together with other people from a Three of Cups foundation, from a foundation of love. The Three of Cups and the Four of Cups is Cancer energy, about emotional water sign energy, about love and home and family and stuff like that. Even high vibe people can be an illusion about why other people moved away. If people were motivated and inspired to be in a deep, meaningful relationship, some of those people would be in a relationship with you. If some people wanted to move forward, detach, the Five of Pentacles detaches from an old foundation, a way of living life and viewing life. If they were interested in detaching from an old way of living life and viewing life, like staying in denial of the truth, or they have their own idea of what's just and fair, and that's how they want to move forward in life, that's their truth, Some of them just wanted to be single. We have to realize the truth of it. Some of them are, their philosophy of life is more about the world. And if you're someone who's learned to love yourself and you've detached from making your life more about you or the world or ego or image or indulgence, and you have gotten out of feeling betrayed, because the Queen of Swords in the upright can be that, your past pain and heartbreak and stuff like that. And you did this work within yourself to detach from an old way of living life by offering yourself this cup of love to change, to offer love to your own inner child nature of hope and faith and belief. 2 cards of change, because the 5s talk about change. There was things I used to be motivated and inspired by. There was things I wanted to invest my time, energy, and effort in. I was caught up in the illusion of the world. I was in more codependent energy. But when I invested in those things that I thought would make me happy, I ended up confused. And I kind of felt in lack, like this isn't as abundant as I thought it would be, There's a maximum of 10 in every suit. I could feel like I have those things of the world, some of those things of the world that I wanted, but I could feel like shadowy Scorpio is that it's more superficial and shallow. Why do I stay living my life like that, or stay in those jobs or those friendships and the relationships? It's causing me inner conflict, because the truth is, I don't look at life the same way I used to. I have, in my Aquarius energy, looked at life from a higher perspective, and I do have a dream. And if I keep repeating an old pattern, and I don't deal with my past pain and heartbreak, and I keep having my inner conflict, and I keep staying in more codependent relationships, and I don't learn to love myself, I'm going to keep repeating this pattern, and I have been repeating this pattern, and it keeps not working out the way I want. When am I going to be enlightened to the truth? The truth is, it starts with us, and we have to learn to love ourselves and appreciate ourselves, know our worth and value and what we bring to the table. And if that means we got to put in some work and effort to grow and heal and mature ourselves and feel more stable and grounded within ourselves and be more independent of things that manipulate us, our immature nature, our prideful nature, being caught up in illusions of the world, making these things so important in our life. It's like, what about my dreams? And maybe it was my past pain and heartbreak and my defensiveness, and I was still in my ego, maybe about things from when I was even a child, when I didn't feel, when I was confused and I felt left out in the cold. Well, I can't go back and change the past. Again, the only person I can change is me. And high vibe energy is about offering yourself love, because love is the answer, to freeing yourself from things that manipulate you. Our shadow nature and other people in shadowy energy, at the big picture, is represented by the devil. These things that manipulate us. High vibe energy is our more loving, intuitive, creative, inspired, hopeful, believing nature. At the big picture, represented by God. That is about life-giving energy. And you don't have to believe in a religious concept, but we live in a world of duality. We see that there are people who are just and fair and kind and self-disciplined and treat other people the way they like to be treated. And we see other people in the world who don't. But the things of the Bible seem to talk about, that we have free will and we have the knowledge of the tree of good and evil within us. And the seeds of both were planted. And they both want to grow. And whichever ones we choose to invest our time, energy, and effort into are going to grow bigger and stronger. Are we going to invest in our more immature, prideful, defensive, egotistical, immature, blame everyone else, petty, envious, jealous? Or are we going to realize that that doesn't get me what I want? And if I get in relationships with other people who are in that energy, if I'm motivated and inspired by love, then, and true, and love is to be just and fair, where other people learn these lessons and learn to treat other people the way they like to be treated. I need to learn to love me, and I need to align with growing those aspects of myself, self-discipline, peace, balance, justice, fairness, hope. That's what I need to focus my attention on. And I need to get out of my emotional confusion and my lack mentality. I have been given lots of gifts. We're not an animal. We're not a computer. We were given our emotions. We were given our creative, intuitive, inspired nature. We were given our mind and our intellect and our reason. And we were given our hopeful, believing nature. And we were also given our intuition to help us navigate in this world. And I'm going to start listening to my intuition. It seemed like when I thought I was more the boss, and I hadn't maybe quite wrapped my brain around this game of life, it wasn't working out when I didn't stand up for myself and what I believed in. It probably didn't go the way I wanted. When I ignored my intuition, when my intuition was saying, I don't think this is a good idea. I think we should go home. I don't think this is going to work out the way we think, but I went and did it anyway. It probably didn't turn out the way I wanted. So, it's kind of learning this game of life. I need to detach from my more worldly philosophy of life. And I need to operate from my more, to take the lessons, because the Nine of Pentacles is Virgo energy, which in high vibe is about learning lessons, seeing the truth, looking at those things we preferred to keep hidden in the dark, look at things that we didn't even know were hidden in the dark, like being in relationships with other people who have inner conflict about being truthful or inner conflict about being authentic, that could be very competitive, that could be more about themselves, because shadowy Aquarius energy, which anyone can harness, it's kind of more like everybody else should put aside their pride and ego, but not them. You know, and some people have a lot of mental conflict about love. I'm going to quit getting in relationships with people who seem to be competitive, who seem to be immature, who seem to be egotistical, who don't seem to be very loving, who don't look at life from a higher perspective, who seem to have their own illusions about life, who are moving forward in their more worldly view of life. I've already been there and done that. It didn't work out the way I wanted. I've changed. I do have that hopeful, believing spirit, and I am standing up for myself and what I believe in. And based on these lessons I've learned I don't like getting in more involved relationships with people who have these certain shadowy traits and characteristics, which I myself could have had at one time, but I've grown up and matured myself. And I'm no longer about myself and staying in denial of the truth. I've been illuminated to the truth. It's supposed to be about love. And love is supposed to be just and fair. You're supposed to treat other people the way you like to be treated. In a way, the fives, because there's a maximum of 10, the fives, kind of like the sixes in tarot, can be about maintaining balance. I'm not all up in my head. I'm not all in my emotions. I'm not all in my worldly nature. I'm not all in my passionate nature. I maintain balance within myself. Yes, there are these things in the world, fire energy, that I am motivated and inspired about. But I also have to be logical and practical, and it has to be based on truth and love. And my foundation, because the Five of Wands comes after the Four of Wands, my foundation is inspired by a dream that I have, because the Two of Wands also is like, I have a dream and I want to take action on my dream. And from the Two of Wands to the Five of Wands is taking back the Three of Wands, that I had lived my life a certain way, thinking in the Three of Wands my ship of dreams was going to come into reality, and it didn't. And I did this work. I was confused. I felt left out in the cold. I felt rejected. I could have felt abandoned. But I wasn't willing to give up on myself and my dreams. I could have initially felt very betrayed. And because the Queen of Swords in the upright is about feeling betrayed, and then when a card's in reverse, it can be very much so. You know, but some people didn't know about you because, you maybe hadn't shown this aspect of yourself that much before, is that you do have this fire within you, your foundation of self, and you have a dream. And you're not someone who stays stuck. And you've learned to listen to your intuition, and you've learned to offer love to the situation, because love is what frees you. And even though you had inner conflict about the way some things would have went, and even though it caused you some mental conflict, I am going to detach from some foundations I had been involved in, and I am going to become independent of them. And if there's some people in my friend group, in my original family group, in other people, businesses, workplaces, or people I had been in maybe relationships or marriages with, kind of all those things can be, the Four of Wands can represent, again, all these institutions of the world. If there's people in my life that want me to keep moving forward and emotionally investing in them when they harness these energies in a shadowy way, have inner conflict about the truth, competitive, immature, unloving, want to win at all costs, it's more about them, then they're not people I want to be in a relationship with, because their dream, their idea of the dream life is different than my idea of the dream life. And I'm not going to keep staying in denial of the truth. And I'm going to speak my truth. I think you do things that I find emotionally confusing. You might try to emotionally confuse me about the truth of who you are. I don't think you harness high vibe Aquarius energy. I don't think you look at life from a higher perspective. I don't think maybe you keep things in perspective. I think you have a lot of inner conflict and mental conflict that you don't deal with. And you might want to, in your foundation of self, stay in denial of the truth and not deal with it. But while I've been in this, whatever type of relationship it was, work, friend, family, whatever, I felt emotionally confused and feel left out in the cold. And I thought this was supposed to be about love. I thought we both were going to put in work and effort to detach from some old ways of being, and the Four of Pentacles can be where we cling more to our more worldly nature, and we're not willing to open up, we're not willing to change. We want to keep, some people want to keep moving forward the same way, living life forever. They don't want to become independent from an old foundation. They want to keep moving forward in this more, let's be more caught up in the world or more caught up in me, and let's make our life more about these things of the world. Ego, image, you should stay in the relationship. We've got ego, we've got image, we got status. It's I find it emotionally shallow and superficial, and I wanted to be in a deep, meaningful relationship based on love. And as a relationship goes by, everybody can get in a relationship because something else didn't work out and they kind of feel left out in the cold and they get single. But sometimes we're not keeping things in perspective and looking at things from the big picture. And we're kind of not looking and maybe listening to our intuition about what kind of drives and motivates people. Are they just and fair? Or do they have inner conflict about being just and fair? Are they inspired by love, or no, not so much? Shadowy fire energy can be, I want to be in a relationship, I'll indulge in the relationship, but love, how about sex? I don't really want to do love. I get hurt doing love. I don't go there. I have inner conflict about letting my more authentic nature out to play in the world, because in order to let my more hopeful, believing, loving nature go out in the world, from the 1 sword to the 5 of swords, I'd have to work through the 4 swords. And the 4 of swords, we'd have to work through our denial. We'd have to work through the 3 of swords, which is our past pain and heartbreak. And in the 4 of swords, we'd have to meditate on the truth and take action in truth and love. And some people are like, I kind of thought about those things, and I had an idea. I don't want to deal with the truth. I don't want to heal from my past pain and heartbreak. I just want to keep moving forward the way I'm moving forward. And if I don't want to deal with the truth of it, and if I am kind of more about myself, which if you're not willing to treat other people the way you want to be treated, if you want to be in a romantic relationship, but you really don't want to really do love, well, then you're kind of hiding that you're kind of more about yourself. I want to be in a relationship with you, but I want to be defensive, maybe be immature, and I'm kind of self-protective and self-defensive, and I don't really want to do love. I want to stay in denial of it. Can't you stay in denial of it? Can't we just keep moving forward like this? And some people are like, no, because I wanted to be in deep, meaningful relationships. I wanted to be in relationships with people who did do that inner work to become independent of the past pain and heartbreak and the fear and the insecurity, and let go of the defensiveness and quit being more about themselves and staying in 2 minds about the truth. If you want to have new beginnings with people, if you want to have a new beginning with me, it's supposed to be based on truth and love. And that doesn't seem to be how you want to do it. And as you did that work within yourself, that's when some people didn't want to be in a relationship with you anymore. When you were moving forward with them and you were emotionally confused and had a lack mentality and didn't know your worth and value and didn't believe in yourself and believe in your dreams and hadn't learned to love yourself, they were like, perfect, this is a person I want to have move forward with. But when you, during the course of life, did this work within yourself to get out of your past pain and heartbreak, you changed, then they didn't want to be in a relationship with you. Well, you changed. I didn't change. I'm the same person I was when I got in the relationship. And everybody can feel betrayed. If they don't ever plan to deal with their past pain, heartbreak, fear, insecurity, whatever their issues are, they didn't think you would either. Because they thought you viewed life like they did. That you wanted to be in a relationship, that, we would both stay in denial of the truth that it's supposed to be about love, and we'd maybe stay in a relationship more because we don't want to be single, we don't want to feel left out in the cold, we have a dream we want to be bring into reality, we have inner conflict about loving and believing in ourselves, and that could be how they plan to move forward in their life forever, and they thought you would too. And that's when you realized you harness your Aries and your Libra energy differently, which is kind of interesting because Aries and Libra are on opposite sides of the zodiac wheel, meaning we might go off in one direction and be living more from our mind than our heart. We might be going off in the other direction where we're kind of more about ourselves or these things we're fired up about, maybe lust and greed and sex or something. And it's to find a balance between our Aries and our Libra energy. And let's see, what's the opposite sign of Aquarius is Leo energy. And again, we're caught up in these things of the world, like in our fire energy of Leo and Aries and Aquarius. And we think that's just and fair. But as we go through these life experiences, and when we're more about the world, we're more in kind of more shadowy Leo energy in our ego. And if we're in our more codependent nature, we're kind of in our ego and haven't learned to love ourselves, we're in our ego. And we kind of go off to learn these lessons, and it's all about learning these lessons so that we can harness high vibe Aries energy, which is learning these lessons and being a good leader in our life. Being motivated and inspired to become independent of those things that manipulate us, to get out of our past pain and heartbreak and feeling betrayed, and to love ourselves and believe in ourselves and believe in our dreams. And as we go through those, we went through this same process to a degree when we were 15 going to 18, 18 to 21, 21 to 25. We had to detach from an old way of viewing life, face our fears, to believe in ourselves and believe in our dreams. And we had to offer ourselves a cup of love to believe we could do it. And then we detached from our more immature ways of living life and our more codependent ways of living life. And it's all little steps that we take. Virgo energy, also represented by the Knight of Pentacles. It's like, it's the slowest moving knight of the deck. If we want to get our dreams to come into reality, it is slow, steady progress of learning these lessons in life, you know? If we're willing to get out of our ego, you have to get out of your ego and defensive nature and fearful nature and all those things that manipulate us. To get out of your ego, to be willing to admit, maybe I need to change. Maybe I wasn't seeing things clearly. Maybe all these things that manipulated me kind of clouded my judgment. And when am I going to love myself enough to be more independent and, based on the lessons I've learned, stand up for myself and what I believe in? And there's some people who will never harness high vibe Aries Libra energy. It could always be going from one to the other. Well, I think this is just and fair. Well, now I think this is just and fair. You know, and it's the people who don't want to make a decision and pick a path. And they also could reject harnessing a more balanced, fiery energy of being motivated to even think there's more to life than just being more about themselves or making their life about these things of the world. For some, it's just that it's just not their truth. And high vibe Aries energy is being a leader in the world. High vibe Leo is being more authentically yourself. High vibe Aquarius is shining your light in the world. You know, being a guiding light for others, standing up for truth and justice and fairness and character and integrity, and, you know, having compassion for people, just like we hope people had compassion for us. You know, it's harder to have compassion for some people who are older, who are still acting very immature. Well, we distance ourselves from those people. Those people live in illusion still. You know, I'm not going to hang out much with those people. I'm going to become independent of those people. I'm probably not even going to communicate with those people anymore. I might be protecting myself as I'm moving forward because, you know, there can be people in the world who try purposely to cause people a lot of inner conflict and mental conflict. Why? It's a false sense of empowerment. High vibe energy leads by example with truth and love. Other people like to think they're the boss of other people's lives. Like, oh, I'm going to be hurtful. I'm going to be unkind. I'm going to be unjust, unfair, unloving. I'm going to throw them under the bus. I'm going to kick them to the curb. Why would they even do that? It's a way for them, because they probably are very competitive, petty, envious, jealous, mental conflict, think everybody should make their life about them or something, don't like it when other people aren't manipulated by the same things they're manipulated by, they're not acting in shadowy ways. I don't like that. I'm going to do these things to try to derail their life, basically. I'm going to throw them under the bus and kick them to the curb. Ah, I feel so powerful. I write the story of your life. I'm the boss. And what they didn't know was some people they did that to, those people are like, you don't write the story of my life. I write the story of my life. And I am not going to let immature, petty, envious, jealous, competitive, hurtful, unkind people, I don't control you. You can slander me. You can try to throw me under the bus. You can reject me. You can kick me to the curb. I'm going to pick myself back up again. I've just realized I'm not giving up on my dreams. I just let go of a foundation I had been holding on to, and I've let it go. And I'm going to work through the confusion of people acting that way in the world. And I'm going to listen to my intuition. And it's kind of like Jesus on the cross. Not like you're Jesus or anything, but we learned so much from the scripture, kind of, that, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they do. They're these immature, some of them are these very immature, and it maybe is out of their own lack mentality, or their own fear, or their own insecurities, and then just some of them are very egotistical and self-centered, and if you don't make them the center focus of your life, you don't make them the center focus of your life, they don't like it, anyway. You're doing the work within yourself. That's what some people don't know. Sometimes shadowy people, again, it's all about creating an illusion. Look how wonderful my life is. Look, I created this illusion. Look, I've moved forward. Look, I'm in a relationship with someone else. Look, I got a different job. Look, that's like shadowy Leo. Look. Isn't everybody isn't everybody buying into the illusion? I've changed. But they haven't. They're the same person they were before. And they think that's how other people live their life. Other people could be watching you move forward in your life, looking very stable and abundant and grounded within yourself. They don't understand how you did it. And also, if they did do really hurtful, unkind things to you, they don't understand how come you're not all in your ego and fighting and, doing fire with fire and getting in the dirt with them. It's like, that's not how I want to live my life. You might like to live your life that way, but you do live your life that way, so I would lose in that battle because that's not the type of person I am. And so I've just let it go. You do you. I'm moving on. And I've offered myself that cup of love to work through the emotional confusion of it and just see the truth of the foundation that you operate from. You don't act with character and integrity. You're not very stable and grounded and abundant. You might have things of the world, but you're not very loving. And I work through feeling betrayed. I don't want to be in relationships with people who are like that. And I take inspired action to keep believing in myself and loving myself and looking at life from a higher perspective and moving forward in the energy of love and going out in the world and treating other people the way I like to be treated. I learned that you are not someone who's on the same page as me. And I wish you peace. I think when you act this way, things aren't going to work out very well for you, but you might not realize it yet. But I'm going to go find the people in the world who want to do love. And some of the shadowy people, sometimes some people like to play the poor, pitiful me. Oh no, those people weren't just and fair and loving and stable and grounded. No, that's when they project all their shadowy traits onto you and then they play like the victim. Poor, pitiful me. I was left out in the cold. It's like, yeah, you were left because people didn't want to put up with your ass anymore. But they like to try to confuse people about the truth because they know the truth of who they are. They know they don't really do love and deep, meaningful relationships, and that the only thing they do have to offer people is their image and their status and these things of the world or these traits or qualities or characteristics that they have. So they kind of have to try to cause people a lot of inner conflict about the loving people that were in their life, that those people were authentic and loving. And it could cause people a lot of mental conflict because it's like, really? I thought that person seemed to be this way, but you're saying, no, that they weren't that type of person, that they were really competitive or they were really immature or they didn't want to stay in the relationship. Where really it was the loving people that were the ones putting in work and effort to try to work through things. But eventually they saw the truth that you don't want to move forward in harnessing these energies in a more high vibrational way. You want to keep hiding that you're more about yourself and you're in denial. It's supposed to be about love. And that's why the high vibe people left. And they go out and play the victim, really maybe wanted to be single because they had a lot of inner conflict about doing love. And then because they have inner conflict and they haven't learned to love themselves and temper their ego and their fear and their insecurity, and they're probably a more codependent energy, they go get in relationships and they go look for people who they think are confused about the truth of who they are, who something didn't work out for them, so they're left out in the cold, who might be single, and even better yet, if they have some of those things of the world that they like, if it's money or status or power or influence or attractive, whatever kind of floats their boat, and they're not going to tell the truth. And and some of them right now are trying to move forward in new relationships. And some of them, it's like, oh no, I'm going to say that I don't want to bring a dream of coming into reality, like in a marriage, because the Four of Wands can represent that. I'm going to hide that I'm going to create the illusion that I'm willing to bring that dream into reality, but I'm not telling the truth. I want to indulge myself in my more immature nature, and I'll get in a relationship with people, move forward in a relationship, kind of indulging myself in the relationship for as long as those people don't see the truth. And if those people ever start to have inner conflict, like, wait a minute, I thought we were going to bring a dream into reality. It seems like, it keeps not happening. And those people try to figure it out. And then those people have inner conflict and start to listen to their intuition. And it's like, wait a minute. I think you just kind of want to indulge yourself in a relationship. Well, I have mental conflict with that because I have a dream. I don't want to be in a relationship with someone who just wants to indulge in a relationship with me. Do you love me or do you not? Do you want to move forward in this relationship or not? Some people get in a relationship just to cause people in their past to be in their ego and cause them mental conflict, using someone else as a pawn in their game to cause other people to feel left out in the cold and rejected, maybe hoping some of those people would come towards them to get back in a relationship with them. For some, they wanted to stay in the relationship, they just don't want to do the relationship the way the high vibe people in their life wanted to do it. I want you to do it the way I want to do it. And if you're not willing to do it the way I want to do it, I am going to do these things to try to cause you all this inner conflict and mental conflict and get you in your ego, get you in your competitive nature, make you feel rejected and unloved, so you will feel left out in the cold and come do the relationship the way I want. And then when you do, I will turn my back on the people I'm in a relationship with, and I will do the relationship with you, because now you're willing to do it the way I want. And that's what some people in their life could be starting to figure out too. I don't even know if you got in a relationship with me because you want to be in a relationship with me, or you want to piss someone else off, or you're trying to manipulate someone else, or you're just getting in a relationship with me to create this illusion that you've changed, you've healed, you've grown. You didn't do those things. You're not this immature, competitive, controlling person. But they're still trying to control the narrative, how people think, how people view them, how they view other people. And as high vibe people in their life just move on with their life, living their truth, kind of starts to make the people who might have been confused they're kind of like, well, I've kind of seen how these people are living their life, and I've kind of seen how this person lived their life. And then it can cause them inner conflict because it's like, gee, I thought this person was someone who acted with character and integrity, and they made me think the other person wasn't acting with character and integrity. But I'm starting to think the other person was the person who acted with character and integrity. And then, people have to do that in their own life. We can all get in friendships and relationships, get in jobs, and periodically, maybe, there's no guarantee, when I like to equate it to being like in a video game, like back in the day, like Mario Brothers or Donkey Kong or whatever, where you had to overcome certain obstacles on a level. And once you mastered the obstacles on that level, you could go to the next level. Well, the whole thing is when we detach from an old foundation, we've kind of learned the lesson we were meant to learn, and we go to the next level of life, there's going to be more challenges at that next level to grow us and mature us, and we have to deal with new fears and insecurities that kind of bubble up. And there's no guarantee when we're moving forward in something, when someone is kind of like, oh wait, I draw the line there. Everything else might have been okay, but now we're dealing with something that really kind of causes me some conflict. And we never know when that's going to happen within us or with someone else. And other people are like, well, I think we should move forward this way. It's like, wait a minute, I'm not sure if that's aligned with my truth. Everything could have been going okay, but now, kind of maybe some of the things you love or your idea again of the dream life. And then it could be just things like, you want to be in a big town, I want to be in a small town. You want to do these things, I want to do these things. And it seems like we're kind of on divergent paths in a way. And just as human beings, we do change over time. Things we used to enjoy and the way we thought we wanted to live our life and how we wanted to move forward in life can be different. And sometimes one person has inner conflict about, kind of more ready, or maybe just kind of feels like, I don't know, I might have kind of gotten caught up in some things, and maybe this isn't my truth. And then sometimes with people, we have to think about, is my truth the way I am living my life and the people I'm hanging out with? Or did I move away from certain jobs, friendships, and relationships with people that as time has went by, and maybe I've changed and healed and grown and matured myself, and some of those people have healed and grown and matured themselves, that maybe those are the people that are more on the same page as me, And I think high vibe people, if they've learned lessons in life, they're not in their ego anymore. They're willing to communicate with people in their life that, I had my own lessons to learn. Whatever I did, however I acted, whatever, it's offering people the truth and love. I've changed. I don't know where you're at in your life now. Do you want to be friends? Do you want to hang out? Apologize if you owe an apology. And some of those people would be grateful because it's like, they could have been with some people or just feeling a little left out in the cold, feeling unloved, moving forward with people who they didn't really think were on the same page. And because you've changed, they might be willing to reconnect with you. And, they had their own issues to deal with and lessons to learn in life. As you're moving forward, you might communicate with some people who you feel moved on ahead of you, that they had learned some lessons that maybe you hadn't learned, and then you're communicating with them that I've learned some lessons and I've changed. Well, just like you could communicate with people now, or as you're moving forward, other people from your past could communicate with you. Whoever is in this position is going to have a little inner conflict and mental conflict if they feel that someone in their past kind of had some growing up and maturing to do. And we can kind of be hiding that we have some love for some people, but we're not going to let our more loving nature dictate our life in a way. I can treat people with respect and love and compassion without getting in a new relationship with them, right? And some people might want to talk to work through, before they would move forward anymore in a relationship. Some people, maybe towards you, depending on what you've done in your life, you in relationship to some other people, depending on what they've done in their life, it's like, yeah, no. Sorry, I'm glad that you learned whatever lessons, and I'm glad that you're more independent of that. Do I want to get in a new romantic relationship with you or invest more in you? No. But from a place, again, of kind of maintaining balance within myself, not getting too up in my head or my emotions or whatever, I'm just going to speak my truth, that I'm happy that, and I'm sorry if things didn't work out in some way in your life, and I'm sorry if you're confused, and I'm sorry if you feel left out in the cold. I can treat people with love and respect and encouragement, but I might keep my distance. Shadowy Scorpio can be people who went like burnt earth on you, tore everything down, tried to completely make you give up on your dreams. And it's like that. I'm sorry. I'm glad you're doing better. We need more healed people in the world. But that is not my dream anymore. And I don't view life like that anymore. I've changed. I wish you peace, but I'm going to keep moving on. And just like you might say that to some people might say that to you. And some people who thought being kind of shadowy or bossy or controlling or hurtful or unkind was going to stop you from loving and believing in yourself, those people, you're over here now in this energy, and they're confused, and they could be the ones who feel left out in the cold. It's like, how did you get over there? I don't get it. And the reason is because they don't take this creative, inspired action within themselves. It's like they reject listening to their intuition, and they still could think, I can just control things and manipulate things and use my things of the world to try to manipulate people to get them to do what they want. And they could think that's what you're doing, and they don't understand how you've changed your life. And they don't get that you offered yourself love to close out a cycle in your life. And you're getting the justice you deserve. Because you were willing to detach and close out a cycle with people who harness their Pisces energy in a shadowy way. It was more about moving forward in indulgence and defensiveness to a dream based on love. And you weren't willing to let people like that backstab and betray you and stop you from standing up for yourself and believing in your dreams. And they thought for sure they were going to get justice in the world. It's like, but they didn't plant good seeds. They planted confusion, illusion, competitiveness, immaturity, and all these bad seeds. And when you plant bad seeds, you're not going to get a good harvest. So they still have all the inner conflict and mental conflict because they're still kind of immature and codependent, and you learn to love yourself, to defend your more hopeful, believing nature. And they're still defending their more immature nature. So, what's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Aquarius energy? The World card, the Page of Pentacles, the Page of Cups, the Nine of Cups, or the Nine of Pentacles, and the Justice card. Why? Because of the King of Pentacles. I view the King of Pentacles as Capricorn energy. Shadowy Capricorn is represented by the Devil. You freed yourself from the devil. You grew and healed and matured yourself. You were like a good parent to yourself. You loved yourself. You put an end to emotionally investing in people who only offer you things of the world because you know your worth and value and you want the justice you deserve. So you wish them peace and closed out a cycle with them. And you offered love to your own more immature worldly nature to grow up and mature yourself, to be stable and grounded and independent within yourself, and you're balanced. And as you're moving forward in that energy, there is going to be other people that are in that same energy, who've done the same work as you, that want to be in a relationship with you. Will some of the more worldly, shadowy people want to be in a relationship with you? Sure. You have free will. You have to be given choice. Some of the more worldly, shadowy people are going to create an illusion that, about whatever, hoping to cause you inner conflict because you could be a very loving, giving, nurturing person. And you're like, I've changed and I've learned to stand up for myself and what I believe in. And I can offer and be loving and compassionate, encouraging to people when they come to talk to me. But am I going to invest in you again if my intuition tells me you're still more about yourself? It's just that whatever you went to go invest in didn't work out the way you wanted? No. And other people that I meet who are in that same energy? No. And it could be challenging because we could be attracted to people. They could be people that we'd think, well, can't I have my dream come into reality with them? But now we've learned to listen to our intuition. And we feel stable and grounded within ourselves enough and know our worth and value enough that I will not get justice if it's not based in truth and love. It'll be maybe a new pattern or repeating an old pattern, but I don't want to be in that. So I will focus on my friends, my family, my career. If I'm in a relationship and this was someone else, me and my relationship will keep moving forward. And we won't let other people who tried to cause conflict and fighting in our relationship disrupt our relationship. And as you're moving forward, and if you get in these new relationships and other people come towards you, you're like, no, I'm already in a relationship with people who are being authentic and honest and independent and just and fair. And just like when you get out and other people get out of relationships, some other people that had learned those lessons ahead of us, they're in those relationships. And they're like, I wish you peace, but, I've already moved on. And we have to deal with the truth of that and not get in our ego and feeling betrayed because things didn't work out. There's consequences for our actions. And high vibe people accept the truth of that, even though they have inner conflict, because I thought that was someone I could have a dream come into reality. High vibe people aren't going to go repeat an old pattern. Other people are going to keep moving forward, believing in their dreams. The other people, though, might go back and repeat an old pattern. Well, that didn't work. Okay, I need to go find someone to get in a relationship with. And they'll go back and repeat an old pattern. What's coming up for some people who harness some more worldly, shadowy Aquarius energy that they might not see coming? The Seven of Swords. Why? Because of the Eight of Swords and the Ace of Swords. When we haven't learned to listen to our intuition, and the Seven of Swords is Aquarius energy, and we're not willing to climb that mountain, which the mountain kind of reminds me of Virgo energy, because Virgo energy and high vibe is taking that time alone to do that inner work, kind of like in a cave, in the landscape, in nature, taking that time alone, overcoming those obstacles that stop us from having our dreams come into reality. Like nothing is going to stop me. But other people can move forward in life and then it's like, what? Wait, what? And Instead of listening to their intuition, they get tempted for maybe the quick and easy answer to feel better, which isn't in alignment with them moving forward. Get caught up in the illusion of the world, get caught up in their lust or their greed or their pride or their ego or their more codependent nature. And because they keep not listening to their intuition, Why? Because they're up in their head about the truth. Either telling the truth, being more authentic, speaking their truth, standing up for what they believe in. It's like, I think I'll just go back and do things the way I've been doing it. And then they're going to have people in their life that are more high vibe, that have been trying to move the relationship forward. And they're like, wait, what are you doing? Why aren't you coming with? And they're like, you mean I have to overcome those things that manipulate me? I'd have to do love. I'd have to quit living more from my mind than my heart. And they go back and repeat a pattern. And eventually the high vibe people in their life can't stay in denial of it anymore. I can't keep staying. If they have things that imprison them and manipulate them, they basically imprison and manipulate me if I keep staying in a relationship. I want to be in relationships with people who are love is a third party. Not fear, not lust, not greed, not themselves, not their defensiveness. And eventually the other people see the truth. I need to free myself. I could want a dream to come into reality with these people. But my dream can't come into reality if they won't free themselves to do love. And that's when they have some high vibe people doing what some of you have already done, and they move forward. And then they go try to find people who are more on the same page as them. And as some of you have moved forward, other people might view you as someone who's went ahead of them. And whether they're friends or family members or romantic interests, the people in your life who you feel are being truthful and honest, and, we can extend more grace to friends and family members and adult children and siblings. Romantic interest, it might be a little more, I've got to really be sure that you've learned lessons in life if I'm not in another relationship, because I do not want to repeat that old pattern. If you have not become independent and gotten out of your defensiveness and your competitiveness and your immature nature and your conflicted nature and being more about yourself, or whatever your issue was, or your fear of love, then no. But there'll be other people who are in the same boat you're at. And it's just to believe that the divine has a plan for your life. If we keep investing our time, energy, and effort into people who show us that their truth is aligned with our truth, eventually it's kind of like God shakes up the puzzle board, to try to get us to see the truth. You are staying in relationships with people who are emotionally manipulating you, not loving you, and using the love that you have for them to manipulate you. And it works for them. And they're happy when we're in our inner conflict. They're happy when we have mental conflict about detaching from them. They're happy when we're caught up in the illusion. Because then they can keep moving forward with the illusion. But when we speak the truth, and we're willing to stand up for what we believe in, that's when the gig is up. They can no longer be in their shadowy Aquarius energy. They either have to do this work and change, or you're going to move on. And that's when some of them are like, shit, the gig's up. I got to go find someone else to get in a relationship with. And then they'll go off and try to deceive and manipulate someone else about the truth about who they are. And eventually, if they keep living their life like this, the people who they're going to end up in a relationship with are probably going to be people who are just like them. Either more about ego and image, or staying in a relationship out of more codependency, being in a relationship with someone else who's in a mental prison about being more authentic or love, or getting out of their ego or their defensive nature. And I think it'll be a very conflicted relationship because it's not based on love. They're in it for some other reason. Well, this would be good for my ego and my image. This would look like I healed, like I changed, like I matured, like I'm not the same person I was before. But they are exactly the same person they were before. They did not learn the lesson. They did not heal and grow and mature themselves. Because they have inner conflict about doing that. You have to get out of your ego. The ego keeps them from the truth. And so they keep repeating an old pattern, just like we did. And they'll keep repeating it until it causes them so much inner conflict and mental conflict. And they see this isn't working. And then if they ever decide to change, just don't hold your breath, because we all know learning lessons, if you look at anything in your life that you tried to overcome and change, even if it was your own harsh inner critical voice, that can take years. Some people you've already learned have a lot of lessons to learn. And it could take them the rest of their life. And they still might not be illuminated to some of the truths that some other people have learned, because some of those people they were motivated to work through those things periodically, and other people never wanted to deal with it. So they got lots and lots of baggage to work through. So there you go, Aquarius. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.